Welcome back to African Colonization TV and Biafran history. In fact, let's look into what is really happening around the world and the issue concerning Biafra. Now, as you can see, the US official they have now come out to make a very critical statement and also to clarify everybody what it means by the West being avoiding Biafra. In fact, don't skip any part of this video. Try to watch to the end because this US official he clarified everything. He explained everything the way everybody needs to understand and why the West is fighting against the Biafra, not only the Nigerian government, but he called it the West. The main reason why they are fighting against Biafra to exit, and the main reason why many things is happening, and it now look as if nobody is talking about Biafra. But all of them, as the West, they understand Biafra. They know that Biafra exists. Just that the government of Nigeria is paying them, is lobbying them, and is doing many things to hide the Biafran symbol, so that people and so that the West will not be discussing about it, but they know that Biafra exists. In fact, this US official he explained a lot of things in this video. He explained a lot of things. Although this video is from during the time of Biafra declaration in Finland. It is when this man make this statement, but what he make here is a very, very vital information. That is why I say let me bring it here for everybody to see and to understand the main reason why the government of Nigeria is afraid to let Biafran go. Just watch by yourself. Don't skip any part of it. Make sure you watch it so that you understand what is happening and what is going on the ground. I was about to watch, like, subscribe, and share for everyone to see things going on in Biafra land.
Recording in progress.
Let me begin by saying Biafra exists. Biafra exists. When I analyze, it's important to recognize the obvious. It's willful blindness to embrace some of the excuses which the West uses to avoid discussing the autonomy, the freedom, the liberty, and the independence of Biafra. It is not climate change, but deliberate murder. Climate change doesn't hire Fulani gangs to rape and murder in Biafra. The authorities in Abuja do. And we need to recognize that reality. Too often, the State Department, the European Union, the African Union defer to the powerful against the weak. But that's not how human rights work. When it comes to the abuses of the Nigerian government, they must be held to account. When Secretary of State Antony Blinken met with Muhammadu Buhari, the former president of Nigeria and a war criminal from the days of the first Biafra genocide, he took Nigeria off the State Department's religious freedom watch list. The United States and all other countries must calibrate our policies towards the reality of the way things are, rather than the way we wish things would be. The fact of the matter is, on any watch list for religious freedom, Nigeria should be on its blacklist. It should be its worst tier, because reality cannot be ignored, nor should human rights of all those in Biafra be swept under the bus. Frankly, if Nigeria spent as much energy hunting the perpetrators of violence against the Igbo as they do pressuring Finland to punish the free speech of Biafra's leaders, Nigeria would be a much better place. Unfortunately, rather than reform, rather than embrace liberty, rather than embrace self-determination, Nigeria seems to embrace transnational repression. And that is why all Biafra activists in Finland should be free. Now, a lot of people will look at Biafra and say, you know, we've never heard of Biafra. That reflects their ignorance and their ignorance of history rather than the necessary reality. But then you will have some naysayers who will say, why are you declaring independence, redeclaring independence in Finland rather than in Biafra itself? And again, that reflects an ignorance of history for those who might criticize. After all, Czechoslovakia declared its independence in Washington, D.C., right near where I sit now. And no one suggested that the Czechs and the Slovaks didn't deserve their freedom. The fact of the matter is, when one faces a lethal threat and lethal repression, you need to assert your freedom wherever you may be, but that doesn't forfeit your rights to your homeland. So, when it comes to Biafra, what I see is everything being done right. Let me put it this way. Again, I say this as an academic. I've been to many places around the world in which people desire their freedom. I've been to Iraqi Kurdistan, Turkish Kurdistan, and Syrian Kurdistan. And I've written a book where, while I empathize with the Kurds, they are not yet ready for independence because they have not taken the basic steps to form a unitary government that can step into the vacuum on day one and lead their people. That is something that the Biafrans have, the mistake the Biafrans have not made. What I see today with the organization of the Biafrans has been absolutely and completely admirable. You are not simply symbolically declaring independence. You are setting in motion a government which can take over all functions of the government. Now, some people may complain that Biafra now has its own army, and they may say that is a terrorist action. They are wrong. It is the job of any government to monopolize the use of force within its territory. The Nigerian army is the occupying army right now. Its job is not to monopolize the use of force within Biafra, because they have shown when they use force, they use it not for security, but to perpetrate insecurity. They use it to murder, they use it to rape, they use it to charter buses, to bring in militias, so that people, naive people may believe that they have nothing to do with what is going on in the region. Now, I'm a historian by training, which means I get paid to predict the past. Also, speaking of pay, let me be clear. I am receiving nothing for my advocacy for Biafra. I have been offered nothing. I have demanded nothing, and I am receiving nothing. Nor would it even be legal for me to accept money from anyone. I am speaking only as an analyst and only as someone who wants to further liberty. Now, I ask as a historian, Where has it worked to force the victims of genocide together with their perpetrators? Where in history has that ever worked? Aggressors must understand that if they turn to genocide, they will always lose. The fact of the matter is, Nigeria lost Biafra in 1967. They may have won the war temporarily, but they permanently lost Biafra. The decisions they made 57 years ago forfeited any rights they have to control, to occupy, to speak on behalf of the people of Biafra. Let me conclude by saying, as an analyst again, I don't think the United States will be the first country to recognize Biafra. But I pray that it won't be the third country either. Biafra to move from Finland and to lobby vociferously.
This is a very shocking video. You all have seen it, and then you have heard what he said. The main reason why the West, why all the other world, they are not discussing much about Biafra, but they understand what is going on, and all of them know that Biafra exists. Then the best way is to let Biafra to go, not be an issue of subjugating them into Nigeria by force. And I would like you to watch this video where they discuss the debating about Biafra in US and how they are debating the issue concerning the insecurity, the genocide, and the decline of Christians in Nigeria every day. Just sit by and watch it. And also our brother Darlington is going to explain to us a lot of things that is going on right now in Nigeria, and also the issue of Biafra. Don't skip any part of it. Make sure you watch it and share it for everyone to see things going on in this country.
Are going to be testifying today on conflict and religious persecution in Nigeria. I'm very much looking forward to the conversation we'll have with Ambassador Pratt and Deputy Assistant Secretary McGee, as this committee is long overdue to hold a hearing with Trump administration officials. The African continent continues to be both increasingly important and increasingly overlooked. The continent is the youngest in the world, and in Nigeria alone, 70% of the population is under 35, and 40% is under 15. So it represents the generations who will continue to lead and solve the world's problems. Nigeria has a unique position as a bellwether, as Africa's largest economy, most populous nation, and a significant actor in the region and on the world stage. And meanwhile, Nigeria is facing its own challenges, like rising insecurity, shrinking freedom of expression, and a struggling economy. So let's talk about the very real conflict and violence happening in Nigeria. Nigeria is facing multiple different security challenges in various parts of the country, including violent extremist groups in the northeast, criminal banditry in the northwest, and across the country, farmer-herder conflict in the Middle Belt, and other intercommunal violence in central and northern regions. Several factors are driving these conflicts. Yes, ethnicity and religion play a role in some cases, but other dynamics like poor governance, resource competition, climate change, and population pressures are important drivers that need to be addressed. I appreciate the chairman's passion on this and his long work on Nigeria. I think it's a distortion to say that what we're trying to say is that there's nothing to see here. In fact, there is something to see here. There is very real conflict and violence that we need to address. I've been working on addressing conflict in Nigeria since 2013, 2014, when I was part of the counter Boko Haram strategy at the State Department. The violence impacting both Christian and Muslim communities is real, and the Nigerian government can and should do more to address it. I was horrified to learn of the killing of 2 people and the kidnapping of the pastor and a worshiper at a church in Kwara State. And this came only a few days after, as the chairman mentioned, criminal bandits kidnapped 25 girls in Kebbi State. But it is counterproductive to adopt oversimplistic narratives about the multiple complex overlapping security challenges and violence across the country. The victims in the Kebbi State kidnapping were all Muslim girls. So violence affects everyone, and false narratives perpetuate harmful stereotypes and motivate tensions and violence based on religious identity. Distorting what's happening into a solely religious narrative erases the real drivers of violence and makes it harder to implement effective solutions. And it can fuel violence against the very groups the Trump administration claims it wants to protect. That's why I'm alarmed by President Trump's rhetoric about this violence and threats to go into Nigeria, guns a-blazing, and to wipe out terrorists. We are already receiving reports of increased tensions between Christian and Muslim populations following this rhetoric. President Trump's threat is reckless, and any unilateral military action in Nigeria would be illegal. Congress has not authorized force in Nigeria to protect Christians, and any action without Nigeria's consent violates international law. We also know that a military-first response won't actually address the violence and will do very little to protect Christian communities. As I said, I worked on Nigeria policy since I was at the State Department in 2014, so I know firsthand these security challenges are multifaceted, and they require a holistic approach. A military-led approach risks more civilian casualties and impunity, which will only fuel violent extremism more. So we need to use more tools from our foreign policy toolbox if we're serious about helping Nigeria protect its citizens. That means we need to leverage diplomacy and engage with Nigeria on how we can help support their response while pushing for important reforms within Nigeria's institutions. We also need to utilize foreign assistance to fund programs to help prevent violence and address conflict drivers. But the Trump administration so far has hobbled these tools. On the diplomatic front, while I'm glad to see Ambassador Pratt will be here representing the African Affairs Bureau, we still have yet to see even a nomination for an Assistant Secretary for Africa. And we don't have a Senior Director for Africa at the NSC either. There are several emergent conflicts in Africa, including in Nigeria, but also in Sudan, DRC, and across the Sahel and in Ethiopia that demand high-level, consistent, and substantive engagement. Occasional attention from the president, while most of the time welcome, won't be enough to see lasting results on all of these different crises. And on the development front, President Trump's dismantling of USAID and cuts of hundreds of millions of dollars worth foreign assistance in Nigeria is worsening the violence. For years, the United States has supported Nigerian institutions, civil society, faith-based leaders, and researchers to address the conflict, violence, and religious freedom challenges. These programs proactively prevented and directly addressed the violence this administration is now concerned about. For example, a recent article in DevX highlighted a program that Secretary Rubio terminated, which has left a void in communities that suffer violence. Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent to submit for the record a DevX article titled "The Cuts That Bleed: What Happens When Peace Programs Go Dark." Thank you. This article focuses on a former program implemented by Search for Common Ground, a peace-building organization that provided critical early warning in communities in Yelwata, a region in Nigeria's Middle Belt, where conflict and violence have erupted between Muslim herders and Christian farmers. This early warning program was responsible for fewer violent incidences before Secretary Rubio terminated it. In June, this same community was left in a lurch without this extra early warning support when an attack happened in Makurdi. Nearly 200 people were killed, hundreds burned alive in their homes and market stalls torched, and almost 4,000 people fled. And this is just one example where the United States has abandoned communities with no explanation. I have another article, this time from the LA Times by former USAID Foreign Service Officer Daniel Morris, that details another program that was helping prevent violence, but was discontinued. Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent to submit for the record an LA Times article titled "Trump Cuts Nigeria's Aid Back in March, Now He Wonders Why It's So Violent." Thank you. This article discusses a program called the Community Initiatives to Promote Peace that operated in northern Nigeria. It trained community elders, including religious and tribal leaders, in conflict resolution, and the results were impressive. After giving one group training and making another one a control group for 6 months, each group was asked if their communities experienced violence. Here's what the article says. Only 10% of people in communities that received negotiation training and dialogue meetings said yes, compared to 41% of people in communities that hadn't. The Nigerians in the treatment group reported feeling more secure, more likely to walk around their communities, and less likely to avoid certain areas than those in the control group. We don't always see these kinds of results. So the fact that we were and the administration eliminated this program is incredibly short-sighted and counterproductive given their apparent interest in this issue. So if we want the United States to help prevent and address conflict in Nigeria, we can't pull back and eliminate our tools like President Trump has done. I urge the administration to reverse these decisions, nominate people at senior levels to work on Africa issues, and commit to working on this seriously, not just through a few true social posts. So I look forward to hearing the testimony of Ambassador Pratt and Deputy Assistant Secretary McKee on what the State Department is planning to do to address the violence in Nigeria and how it plans to partner with Nigeria on doing so. And lastly, while I'm glad we have our witnesses here to discuss Nigeria today, I would be remiss to not also raise Sudan, since this is our first time with the State Department witnesses in front of this subcommittee this Congress, and we still have not had a budget hearing. The situation in Sudan is horrific. And while I'm glad to see this war finally getting high-level attention from President Trump, I look forward to hearing from Ambassador Pratt about what the department's plan is to both make a deal that brings a lasting end to the war in Sudan and invest in a real peace process.
I am so happy. Up to tomorrow, not even today, up to tomorrow, no country in the whole world has labeled IPOB a terrorist organization. And IPOB had representative in all the countries of the world. Every year when they celebrate IPOB Day, they come out in all the countries, not one, not two. US, UK, Germany, Canada, all the Western world, everywhere. Have you had any country that said, oh yeah, all of you go away, you are terrorists in our country? Have you heard of such a thing? IPOB.
Do you think it's an Igbo thing?
It's an Igbo thing. Who are the members of IPOB? Who? Tell me, are there people from the southwest or from the north? Is there any day or any time or any month or year that IPOB member went to any place, either in the southeast or anywhere in Nigeria, killed the entire village, killed the military, the Nigerian military, sacked the entire village, or asked them to be paying protection money? Really, civilians or their terrorists and their collaborators operating and transacting business there. There is nothing we have not had that terrorists came to extort money from people selling in that market. And so, if that is your own intel, please, are you not supposed to wait until they have left that market and retire to their abode or to their habitation? Then you can now strike. And if they actually came to extort money from traders, bombing the place, is that your last option? That is the last option you have. You mean there's no way you can separate the civilian personnel there and the real terrorists? These are questions that will tell you that our so-called military, they are not acting with intelligence. You cannot bomb civilian population because you want to catch terrorists. There is no explanation to that. By the way, who were the actual people that was bombed there? Who were the actual people that was bombed there? Which religion do they profess?
Barrister Elijah Marcos, special counsel and now consultant to Nnamdi Kanu, who is currently in Sokoto prison, actually called out the Nigerian government for publishing them as a list, publishing them in the list of terror groups by terror and terrorist sponsors. So Elijah Marcos said that the move is a direct affront, all right, to the court, insisting that the matter concerning the proscription of IPOB as a terrorist organization remains unresolved before the Supreme Court of Nigeria. So if the Supreme Court has not declared IPOB as a terrorist organization, why were they listed as a terrorist organization? There was a list that came out and they mentioned indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, as a terrorist group. In other words, you've like literally listed an entire ethnic group as a terrorist organization. Now, would you say that an entire ethnic group has been listed as a terrorist organization, indigenous people or Biafra? I remember there was a day I asked you, I said, what is Biafra? You know, and if it's recognized, what does it stand for? What does it represent? Is it something that is recognized as a country, both home and international, or is something that an ethnic group believes in their heart that they represent, for them to have prescribed it entirely? This was done by late Muhammadu Buhari's administration under the current Attorney General, under the previous Attorney General of the Federation, currently facing cases with the EFCC. Abubakar Malami, despite several calls for him to drop that, he refused to drop that. Abubakar Malami fronted and made sure that IPOB was listed as a terrorist organization. So at this juncture, would we say it was the Nigerian government pushing an agenda, or there is any credibility to what was done in putting them in the list?
It was Buhari and his Attorney General who is now getting reward for all he did.
And he's now in the ADC.
So, in fact, I told you here that I don't have sympathy for him, because this was the same people that came together, both himself and his principal, and declared IPOB a terrorist organization and gazetted it. But Esther, do you know the shame of these people? Do you know why I am so happy? Up to tomorrow, not even today, up to tomorrow, labeled IPOB a terrorist organization. And IPOB had representative in all the countries of the world. Every year when they celebrate IPOB Day, they come out in all the countries, not one, not two. US, UK, Germany, Canada, all the Western world, everywhere. Have you had any country that said, oh yeah, all of you go away, you are terrorists in our country? Have you heard of such a thing? If they are terrorists, why would they be visible everywhere? Nobody have deported them, Esther. You can see now. So this is the shame of the federal government of Nigeria. You want to hang a dog, you now give it a bad name, thinking that you will succeed. You know you will not succeed. All the things they are doing against the Igbos, these are part of the reasons. IPOB.
You think it's an Igbo thing?
It's an Igbo thing. Who are the members of IPOB? Who? Tell me. Are there people from the southwest or from the north? It's an Igbo thing. A self-determination group is allowed under the UN Charter, which Nigeria domesticated. So on what basis are you calling IPOB a terrorist organization? This thing that these people are doing in the north, is IPOB doing it, Esther? No, tell me. How can you compare IPOB with these terrorists in the north? How? I have been asking that question and nobody has given me an answer. Is there any day or any time or any month or year that IPOB member went to any place, either in the southeast or anywhere in Nigeria, killed the entire village, killed the military, the Nigerian military, sacked the entire village, or asked them to be paying protection money,
or tax,
or kidnap them for ransom? I mean, when people are doing something, let them think so that they don't embarrass Nigeria and themselves. No Nigerian official can go outside and call IPOB a terror and somebody will listen to it. They can't even try it. Remember when they are forcing UK to label Nnamdi Kanu a terrorist? They refuse to listen to them. They simply ignored them.
Yeah, but the UK up to now has refused to do anything concerning Nnamdi Kanu's case. It almost seems like it's a collaborated effort with the United Kingdom.
At least they didn't see Nnamdi Kanu as a terrorist. They did not. They have not said anything.
Don't you think that silence is consent?
No, they want the federal government to finish what they are doing.
Are you sure? At what instance has the UK ever intervened or contradicted or sort of critiqued whatever it is the Nigerian government does? At least
they didn't listen to Nigerian government when they were begging them to call IPOB a terrorist organization. The UK government did not listen. They didn't answer. They didn't follow them. So what are you telling me here now? Until tomorrow, IPOB can never be a terrorist organization. It can never be. The whole world is aware of the situation of the IPOB members and the Igbos in Nigeria. They are now aware. That is why they refuse to listen to them. Unfortunately, the Nigerian government have not deemed it fit to recant or to repent. Look at the terrorists that are actually disturbing Nigeria since 2009. They didn't see anything to do now. So, well, the thing that God is fighting our battle is Esther. Did you hear me? God is fighting our battle because he said the battle is his own and vengeance belongs to him. All those people who killed Igbo youth for no reason, the people that they killed and the people that followed them, ordered them to do the killing. They are not getting it.
And the politicians as well in the southeast also, because you cannot exonerate them.
Of course, all of them will get their due pay. That's how God works. God will say that the battle is his own and vengeance belongs to him. So that is the final word. God has finished the whole story. Let them continue to hunt the Igbo man wherever he goes, while God is fighting for him. Let's see who will win. Did they believe that this thing will get to this stage, Esther? I wish Buhari were to be alive today to see the result of what he started. I wish he were to be alive.
This is a very serious debate and a very serious talk. I like this man, Darlington. He used to say the truth whenever he want to speak, and he don't used to look anybody's face. He speak it directly to the government and to Nigeria, to Tinubu, so that let them understand what they are doing. If you see what is happening in Nigeria today, the main people that is the terrorists, they are branding them repentant Boko Haram and putting them into Nigerian soldier, police, and other military side. Then the main people that is not the terrorists, they're branding them the terrorists, which is a pop. And the way it used to be worst or used to be a shame to them is they have make other countries, they have already forced other country, and I believe that they are paying them other country, any of the country, to tag IPOB as a terrorist organization. But around the world, even though they are neighboring country, they have never even tagged IPOB as a terrorist organization in their country. But in Nigeria, they are paying both US, they are paying UN, they are paying every organization for them to start tagging IPOB as a terrorist organization. In fact, it's a very big shame to the government, a very big shame to them, because you refuse to go to hit to the main point and to see how you are going to solve the problem on ground, but you are there going round the corner, claiming that they are terrorists, they are it, and sentence Nnamdi Kanu, thinking that it will end, or once they sentence him, that it will end the agitation of Biafra. They don't know that it will even increase the agitation and even make the global world to start seeing what is really going on in Nigeria. Look at it today. They are now discussing Biafra all over the world, both in United Nations, both in USA, both in Israel, both in other places where people think that they will not be discussing about it. For you to see that it is a shame to the government. If you listen to the first analyst, the US official, he analyzed everything concerning Biafra and the main reason why the government of Nigeria, they are paying the West so that they will not be looking what is really happening in Nigeria, mostly the issue of Biafra. In fact, I would like your comment down below, like, subscribe, and share for everyone to see things going on in Nigeria. Say thank you for watching.